All right, you degenerate fucks, welcome back to the deep dive. You wanted to know more about this batshit crazy potential second cabinet of Trump's. So we're going deep on this Wikipedia article about the second cabinet of Donald Trump. I swear the shit is wilder than a Hunter Biden laptop.
It's definitely a fascinating snapshot of what a second Trump term might look like.
Fascinating. This shit's straight up bonkers. First off, the article says Trump wins the 2024 election. What the hell happened? Did everyone suddenly get amnesia about the last 4 years?
The article mentions Trump won every swing state and all the states he won in 2020, beating Harris in the Electoral College 312 to 226. It suggests a pretty decisive victory.
Decisive victory, my ass. More like a collective national brain fart. But let's cut the crap and get to the good stuff the cabinet picks. Holy shit, this lineup is a goddamn circus sideshow.
Well, there are some unconventional choices.
Unconventional. More like a fucking train wreck waiting to happen. Elon Musk running the Department of Government Efficiency. What the fuck is that? Some kind of ministry of bullshit he invented. Yeah. And he's bringing his tech bro sidekick, Vivek Ramaswamy, along for the ride. What are these two clowns cooking up?
It's likely not a formal department in the traditional sense, more like a task force within the executive office. The goal is likely streamlining government processes, leveraging technology to increase efficiency.
Efficiency. With Musk involved, the only thing efficient about that is how fast he'll burn through taxpayer dollars. And hold the phone. Get a load of this. Pete Hegseth, the Fox News talking head, is supposedly going to be Secretary of Defense. Is this a joke? The guy's military experience is probably limited to playing Call of Duty in his mom's basement.
Hegseth does have a background in the National Guard, reaching the rank of major. But you're right, his primary experience is in media and political commentary. His appointment would definitely raise questions about his ability to handle the complexities of the Pentagon.
It's like putting a goddamn hamster in charge of a tank division. Speaking of unqualified, RFK Jr., the king of the anti-vaxxers, is tabbed for Health and Human Services. Are we seriously handing over our national health to a guy who thinks vaccines are a government conspiracy? This is some next-level fucked up shit.
Kennedy's stance on vaccines has been a source of considerable controversy. The scientific consensus on vaccine safety is overwhelming, and his appointment would raise serious concerns about the direction of public health policy.
This is going to be a bigger disaster than that time I tried to make my own moonshine.
Yeah.
But wait, it gets better. Remember Matt Gaetz? The Florida man who looks like he's constantly one step away from a public meltdown. Apparently Trump wanted him as attorney general. But even the Republicans were like, nah, dude, that's too much crazy. Even for us.
The article states that Gage withdrew from consideration after facing strong opposition from within the Republican Party, suggesting a lack of confidence in his ability to lead the Justice Department.
The guy probably has more skeletons in his closet than a graveyard. Speaking of questionable choices, Pam Bondi, who was the Attorney General of Florida for about 5 minutes, is now in line for the AG gig. Where the hell did she crawl out from? Did she win some kind of a most likely to suck up to Trump contest?
Bondi served as Florida's Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. It appears her nomination came as a surprise after Gates's withdrawal. It could be a strategic move to appoint someone perceived as less controversial, but her qualifications will likely be scrutinized.
Yeah, right. Less controversial. Like swapping a rabid pit bull for a slightly less rabid chihuahua. It's all about appearances with Trump. Make it look like you give a shit about experience and qualifications, while you're secretly stuffing the cabinet with yes men and lunatics. Classic Trump.
It's certainly a mixed bag of backgrounds and experiences. Some have clear credentials and policy expertise, while others are more notable for their media presence or political connections.
You mean they're famous for being assholes on Twitter? But hey, at least there's one relatively young blood in the mix. J.D. Vance. The hillbilly elegy guy. Is supposed to be the VP. He's practically a fetus compared to these dinosaurs. Vance would actually be the third youngest vice president in U.S. history. He has a rather interesting background. Aside from his best-selling memoir, he also served in the Marine Corps. His story represents a somewhat different perspective within the Republican Party. Welcome back to our deep dive into Trump's potential second cabinet. As we established, this lineup is a real grab bag of personalities, experiences, and potential for some serious dumpster fires. Dumpster fires, that's putting it mildly. This cabinet looks like it was assembled by a bunch of internet trolls and conspiracy theorists. I'm surprised they didn't nominate Alex Jones for Secretary of Information Warfare or something.
While some choices are undeniably controversial, let's analyze their potential impact with a bit more nuance.
Nuance. This shit is about as nuanced as a kick in the balls. But fine, I'm game. Let's unpack some of these other picks and see what kind of havoc they might unleash on the country.
All right, let's start with the Department of the Interior. Trump has tapped Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, for this role. Burgum is a former tech executive and describes himself as a pro-business conservative.
So basically, he's going to be in charge of selling off our national parks to the highest bidder.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Just what we need. Another billionaire who thinks the environment is just a bunch of untapped resources ripe for exploitation.
Burgum's record on environmental issues is mixed. He supported some conservation efforts, but he's also been a strong advocate for the oil and gas industry in North Dakota. His appointment could signal a shift towards prioritizing energy development over environmental protection.
Yeah, because that's exactly what the world needs right now. More fossil fuels and less clean air and water. Genius move, Donnie.
Moving on to the Department of Agriculture, we have Brooke Rollins, a former policy advisor to Trump and a proponent of deregulation.
Deregulation. Sounds like a fancy word for letting corporations poison our food without any consequences. I'm betting she's a big fan of Monsanto and all those other chemical giants.
Rollins's background is primarily in conservative think tanks, where she's advocated for limited government intervention in the economy. Her appointment suggests a continuation of the Trump administration's policies of reducing regulations on agriculture and food production.
So basically, get ready for GMOs on steroids and a whole new wave of food poisoning outbreaks. Past the Pepto-Bismol.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. While deregulation can have unintended consequences, it can also stimulate innovation and lower costs for consumers. The key is finding a balance between economic growth and protecting public health and safety.
Yeah, balance, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure those corporate lobbyists will be all about balance when they're writing fat checks to their favorite politicians.
Next, we have Howard Lutnick, a billionaire hedge fund manager. As the Secretary of Commerce, Lutnick is best known for rebuilding his company, Cantor Fitzgerald, after it suffered devastating losses in the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, the heartwarming tale of a billionaire overcoming tragedy. So inspiring. But what the hell does he know about running the Department of Commerce? Is he going to turn it into a giant trading floor?
Lutnick's experience in finance and international business could be relevant to the role of Commerce Secretary, which involves promoting trade and economic growth. However, his lack of government experience might be seen as a weakness.
I'm sure he'll figure it out. He can always hire a bunch of consultants and lobbyists to tell him what to do.
Moving on to the Department of Labor, we have Lori Chavez-DeRemer, a congresswoman from Oregon.
Wait, a woman? In a Trump cabinet? Is hell freezing over?
Chavez-DeRemer is a former mayor and a self-described common-sense conservative. Her appointment could signal an attempt to broaden the appeal of the Republican Party to women and moderates.
Or maybe she's just there to make the cabinet look less like a sausage fest. Tokenism at its finest.
It's important to note that Chavez-DeRemer has a background in business and local government. She's not just a symbolic figure. She brings her own experiences and perspectives to the table.
Yeah, but what are her views on labor rights? Is she going to be on the side of the workers or the corporations? I'm putting my money on the latter.
Her voting record suggests a more conservative approach to labor issues. But we'll have to wait and see how she balances the interests of workers and businesses in this role.
All right, let's keep this shit show rolling. We've got Scott Turner, a former Texas state representative. And get this, an ex-NFL cornerback, heading up housing and urban development.
Turner's background is certainly unique. His time in the NFL might not seem directly related to housing policy, but his experience as a state representative could provide some insight into the challenges facing cities and communities.
Yeah, maybe he can teach those struggling families some fancy footwork to dodge eviction notices.
It's worth noting that Turner also served as the executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council during Trump's first term. This experience suggests a familiarity with federal housing programs and policies.
Okay, so he's not a complete rookie. But let's be real. This pick screams diversity hire to me. Trump probably just wanted a black guy in the cabinet to make it look less like a Klan meeting.
It's important to avoid making assumptions about someone's motivations or qualifications based on their race or any other protected characteristic. We should focus on their experience and policy positions.
Fine, I'll give the guy a chance. But if he starts talking about building affordable housing in the shape of a football stadium, I'm calling bullshit.
Moving on to the Department of Transportation, we have Sean Duffy, a former Wisconsin congressman, and, hold on tight, a reality TV star.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Another reality TV reject. Is this a cabinet meeting or an episode of The Real Housewives of D.C.? What's next? Smicky as the ambassador to Italy.
Duffy's background is primarily in law and politics. He served as a district attorney before being elected to Congress. His experience in government could be relevant to the role of transportation secretary, which involves overseeing infrastructure projects and regulations.
Yeah, but his main qualification seems to be knowing how to create drama for the cameras. I can already see the headlines. Transportation Secretary Duffy causes gridlock with explosive Twitter rant.
Let's hope he brings a more pragmatic approach to the job than his reality TV persona might suggest.
I wouldn't hold my breath. What else we got?
Next up, we have Chris Wright, an energy executive. As the Secretary of Energy, Wright is the founder and CEO of Liberty Energy, an oil and gas company.
Shocker. Another fossil fuel guy. I'm sensing a theme here. Trump's energy policy seems to be based on the belief that the Earth is flat and climate change is a hoax.
Wright's appointment certainly aligns with the Trump administration's focus on energy independence and deregulation. It's likely that he will continue to prioritize the production of oil and gas over renewable energy sources.
So get ready for more pipelines, more drilling, and more pollution. Yay, progress.
It's important to acknowledge that the transition to renewable energy sources is a complex and multifaceted issue. While there is a growing consensus on the need to reduce carbon emissions, there are also economic and logistical challenges involved in shifting away from fossil fuels.
Yeah, I get it. It's a tough problem. But appointing a bunch of oil and gas executives to key positions isn't exactly sending the message that you're serious about addressing climate change.
Fair point. Shall we move on?
Hit me with it.
All right. Linda McMahon, the former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, is slated to be the Secretary of Education.
So she's going to turn our public schools into a giant wrestling ring. Every classroom will have a steel cage, and teachers will have to wear spandex.
McMahon's background is primarily in business and entertainment, but she also served as the administrator of the Small Business Administration during Trump's first term.
So she's traded in folding chairs for textbooks. Let's hope she brings a more nuanced approach to education policy than a wrestling persona might suggest.
Her experience at the SBA could be relevant to managing the Department of Education's budget and programs.
Okay, next contestant.
Doug Collins, a former congressman from Georgia, is Trump's pick for Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
Is this guy even qualified to handle a paper cut, let alone the complexities of the VA?
Collins is a military veteran himself. Having served in the Air Force Reserve, his experience could give him a unique understanding of the needs and challenges facing veterans.
All right, I'll give him that. But can he handle the bureaucracy and the red tape? That's the real test. The VA is notorious for being a bureaucratic nightmare.
Indeed. And finally, we have Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, as the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Noem is a rising star in the Republican Party. She's a conservative firebrand who's not afraid to speak her mind, or ride a motorcycle in a campaign ad.
Noem's appointment could signal a continuation of the Trump administration's hardline policies on immigration and border security.
So get ready for more walls, more deportations, and more fear-mongering. Just what America needs.
It's important to remember that immigration is a complex and multifaceted issue. While there are legitimate concerns about border security, there are also humanitarian and economic considerations to take into account.
Yeah, I've heard it all before. But this cabinet doesn't exactly inspire confidence in their ability to find balanced solutions to these complex problems. They seem more interested in scoring political points than actually governing responsibly.
That's a valid concern.
All right, so we've waded through this swamp of potential cabinet picks. What's the overall takeaway here? Is this lineup as disastrous as it seems? Or is there a method to this madness?
It's a mixed bag, to say the least. Some selections have relevant experience and could bring valuable perspectives, while others seem chosen more for their loyalty to Trump or their ability to generate controversy.
So basically, it's a recipe for chaos and dysfunction, just like Trump's first term, but with even more Twitter meltdowns and Fox News appearances.
That's a bit of an oversimplification. It's crucial to remember that a president's cabinet is just one part of the government. Congress, the courts, and even public opinion all play a role in shaping policy.
Yeah, checks and balances, blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. Trump has a history of ignoring norms and bending the rules to get what he wants. And with a cabinet full of yes men and ideologues, who's going to stop him?
That's a valid concern. The potential for conflicts of interest, ethical lapses, and disregard for the rule of law is certainly higher with this particular group.
Higher. I'd say it's practically guaranteed. We're talking about a group that includes a billionaire who wants to colonize Mars, an anti-vaxxer who thinks the government is controlling our minds, and a reality TV star who's more famous for his hair than his policies.
You're being a bit facetious, but your point is well taken. This cabinet does raise some serious red flags about the direction of the country under a second Trump term.
red flags. More like flashing neon signs screaming, "Danger ahead!" This isn't just about policy disagreements or ideological differences. This is about the fundamental principles of democracy, accountability, and the rule of law.
I understand your concerns, and it's crucial for citizens to remain vigilant, to hold their elected officials accountable, and to engage in informed debate about the issues that matter most.
Right, because if we just sit back and let these clowns run the show, we're all screwed.
That's a rather pessimistic view. There are always opportunities for engagement, for advocacy, and for making your voice heard.
Okay, fine. So what can we do? Besides stockpiling canned goods and building a bunker in the backyard?
Well, staying informed is crucial. Read reputable news sources, engage in thoughtful discussions with people who hold different views, and support organizations that align with your values.
So basically, don't just scream into the void on Twitter.
Precisely. Channel that energy into constructive action. Contact your elected representatives, volunteer for a cause you believe in, or organize within your community.
All right, I guess that's better than nothing. But I'm still not feeling very optimistic about the future.
Hope is not a strategy. Action is. And the more people who get involved, the more likely we are to shape a future that reflects our values.
Well said. So to sum it all up, Trump's potential second cabinet is a clusterfuck of epic proportions. But we're not powerless. We can still fight back by staying informed, getting involved, and holding those in power accountable.
Exactly. The future is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
All right, folks, that's it for our deep dive into Trump's potential second cabinet. We've covered a lot of ground, from the absurdity of some of the picks to the serious implications for the future of our country. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and don't let the bastards grind you down.